Greetings and welcome to the Energy of Taurus. This is Ron from Tarot of the Twin Sun. Tarot of the Twin Sun is a functional division within the Order of the Twin Sun. Please take only what you will. So today we shall be tracking the movement of Venus. Okay, um, and in particular, there's an auspicious relation. Okay, to Jupiter and Venus. Jupiter being in the 12th house for Taurians. Um, Gifting in the first and second house placement of Venus in Gemini. Okay, it's the cusp of the first and the second house. So what does this indicate? It indicates closure of something. Okay, and the closure of something being a teacher for the material realm. Okay, so the spiritual realm, or the 12th house, with Jupiter being there in Aries, there's an energy, a fanatical energy, something that requires a great deal of faith and spiritual attunement to gift Venus within the trine aspect, something that would do with um, dealing with multiple relations, okay, or multiple commitments, at least two of them, dealing with binary systems, dealing with a way of thinking in one way, another way of thinking in another. There are a lot of thoughts that come to mind when it comes to spiritual wisdom and the idea that Jupiter, the guru of the planetary cosmos, is essentially gifting you something of great wisdom that comes in the form of Jupiter in Aries. Okay, because there's a stellium of Jupiter, as well as Mars, Pars Fortune, and Chiron here, there's a strong indication that the 12th house, when it comes to Aries or Aryan Martian energy, is very much pushing forward this agenda of a spiritual undertone or overtone that is granting you gifts in terms of your material wealth, for one thing, but also within the path of the student or within the path of the creator, within the path of the magician, okay, in the second house for you Tauruses. This is all very good stuff. At the same time, there are certain challenges, okay, naturally. One of the biggest squares that I see here, there are two of them that pertain to action, okay. This is action that is very much forthcoming and pioneering, and perhaps even spiritual action that may affect you in a negative way. Okay, I'm not trying to project here. Um, what I'm seeing is a reflection in terms of the cosmos of Mars in Aries, creating a lot of tension. So there's an atmosphere of closure, but then also violence and war, creating closure, um, conflict, creating closure. And this is a very difficult aspect considering that the moon in Leo in the fourth house creates a square to Mars in the 12th house. As well, there's a square from Mars in the 12th house to your MC, directly on your MC, okay? Your MC is also in Pluto in retrograde in Capricorn from the ninth to the 10th house. So what I'm seeing essentially is a great deal of, at least when it comes to uh, the opposite of Venus. Okay, Venus is all about peace and liberation. It's about secret knowledge. It's also about love and artistry and grace. There's something about the opposite of that, which is Martian energy, is creating a lot of tension. Okay, so um, when it comes to you dealing with karma, with the axis of the 10 and the fourth house, there's something about a retrograde Pluto in the 10th house that speaks about structures that are coming up from the ashes, that are trying to perhaps end their own cycle of commitment, of design, of business, of karma. Okay, this is talking about latent actions on older, outdated structures when it comes to your 10th house. Okay, because also there is Saturn in retrograde in Aquarius. So if you move from the 10th to the 11th houses, that is producing an effect on your ninth and 10th houses around your MC, um, at least in terms of the horror of July 1st, 2022. There's a lot that has to do with this retrograde action that has to do with slowing down the limitations of the Aquarian age, of systems or structures, the slowing down of systems or structures in order to produce some sort of latent effect. Okay, the gifts of Saturn and Pluto will eventually give some sort of subconscious restructuring. Okay, that after things, sort of, especially after this Martian energy, this warlike mentality on a global and systemic uh, disintegrates, then there's a possibility of great rewards. Okay, one of some of the great rewards that I'm seeing have to do with latent dreams or Neptune in retrograde in Pisces. I mean, there's a lot of retrograde energies, primarily Pluto, Saturn, and Neptune. Um, and what that means is that there's a huge slowing down when it comes to the selfless part of the zodiac, when it comes to the seventh house and beyond. Lots of activation in the 10th, 11th, and 12th houses. Okay. What does this mean? Usually it indicates, okay, an addressing of karma on a collective level in order to find some sort of spiritual transcendence. There's a lot of spiritual fire going on in the 12th house, so Jupiter and Mars in slight conjunction as well, Chiron and Pars Fortune, your Pars Fortune in particular, within this. So there's something that can be gifted from the etheric world, and with Venus being very closely associated to your first house and into your second house, there's something that can come to mind when it comes to all of this change, okay, that happens on a global level. So it's a very interesting dynamo here. One thing to note, especially when it comes to you addressing karma, is that it is 10, 10, 11, 12, 1, 4, and 5. So it's around it's around 4 and 5 houses away from the Pluto energy in your Pluto retrograde Capricorn in the 10th house, right? So that composition, Pluto retrograde Capricorn in the 10th house, has to do with structures that are within, but also that are out in the outer world that you have to deal with in a karmic way. Okay, in terms of actions that have to do with your sense of career or your sense of responsibility, that are being limited in such a way, in such a degree, that the elation would come through Venus. Okay, something that Tauruses naturally feel affinity to. And if it's 5 houses away, it means that you have to find some sort of creative or romantic or childlike way of being. You have to open up the heart chakra, and that's something that would help to produce a creative responsibility towards dealing with these issues with the outer world. Okay, especially globalized systems or like expanded sort of limitations within the global order, and then trying to find some sort of spiritual domain within that. It is through creation or the creative aspects of the fifth house that you can find purity. So that's the primer. It's an astrological primer. We'll go directly into the tarot now. Thank God that's over. So let's get into it. I do want to keep this open. So I like to begin with a bit of karmic insight, and we'll go ahead and get into that now. Okay, so there's a movement from the Six of Rods in the reverse to the Nine of Rods in the upright. There is a period uh, of embodying something here. This has to do with growth. It has to do with becoming full. And in this, there's an element of being satiated, becoming pacified in some sort of way. It has to do with the calm fire or the sacred flame. It has to do with also Jupiter. Um, and currently, Jupiter is gifting you quite a bit in terms of your own inner world, your home, as well as your sense of self and your responsibilities within the home. There is a commitment here that has to do with expanding in such a way, in a very spiritual way, that it would create uh, an element of patience within the design of what you're doing, okay? Which can be, it can feel like stagnation. The thing is that it requires the great patience and the wisdom of Sagittarius um, and Jupiter. The thing is that Jupiter is in Aries right now, and it is very much gifting you insights in the 12th house. Okay. That pertains to your home, it pertains to your domicile, it pertains also to your resources. Okay. Moon being in Leo, and Mercury being in, or Mercury, no, yeah, Venus being in the first and second house cusp. Okay. So what I see here is knowledge and patience, very strongly indicated here. The thing is that if this has to do with someone else, there's a possibility of them watching over you, but not in a negative way. It's like being guided by someone. There's also something here about the sixes, movement from fire to earth. Um, Insight is very much here on the cards. If you feel like, mm, if you feel like there's something about the path that you're on, there's a method of equally balancing out variant paths that sprout up before you. There's a way to walk in between the two, okay, by becoming passive. And in this, there's an element of crisis, a need to choose one path or the other. Um, the idea here is to note that all paths lead to the same direction. If there is a determinism within that, there's something about it where your own agency is being, um, your authority is being gifted to you, or it's being passed to you through some initiatory rite or a rite of passage or something like that. The idea here is to move towards to the Seven of Pentacles in reverse, to let go of old projects, let go of old things um, that don't serve you. And the idea here is also to pick up the Ace of Pentacles, pick up the seed, and begin somewhere else. The place that it is leading to is on the auspice uh, of Purva Bhadrapada, of also Libra, um, and somewhat of the triplicity of air. Okay, the idea here is to embody the mystical union of the triplicity of air, the three into the one. Okay, that's the third house, seventh house, and the 11th house, to learn the lesson and the mastery of that, to become a master of the mind. So what I'm seeing here is the ability to let go of um, structures that are deep within the foundations of the centers of your being, um, and to take the path of initiation, okay? And usually it has to do with some sort of crisis, a point where you have to choose between left or right, or one path or another, but it's in great patience and almost a feeling that you can't really make the choice, that the choice is made for you. Um, and this has to do with faith, it has to do also with wisdom through the auspices of Jupiter. But you're being gifted right now in terms of all of that. Um, I don't see anything negative that Jupiter is actually gifting you in the first and the fourth houses, and the second house, if you want to consider it the second house, with Venus being in Gemini. So, um, one last thing. When it comes to your opposite, the South Node is in Scorpio, which has its natural affinity there, because Aquarius and Scorpio do co-rule the South Node, if I'm not mistaken. With that, the actual north node and uh, um, Uranus being in your first house gives you a great deal um, as it pertains to its relation to Venus in the second house in Gemini, meaning that there's something about your desires, your idea to identify with something, to become very heady about something that has to do with disorder. It has to do with transformation in such a way. I mean, the Uranus in Taurus is not a very stable position, and it affecting your first house may affect the way people perceive you, meaning that you can appear to be Uranian in nature. There's something scientific about you, or perhaps analytic, trying to find a hypothesis, and all of this is very much on the cards, at least astrologically, for the time being. So let's go ahead and move to the Great Mirror. The Great Mirror is a tool devised by the Order of the Twin Sun in order to see apparent karmas that may exist between Taurus and an opposite, another person. Please take only what you will. I do appreciate you tuning in and liking and subscribing, if you will. Yeah, thank you for the support. Yeah, the idea here is to take things light, especially when it comes to the wisdom that is brought and the gifts that are brought through Jupiter in Aries. It's like you're teaching, there are teachings to be had here. There's wisdom to be had here, knowledge to be had here, and inner knowing. Okay, so someone perceives you uh, as a Taurus that essentially has withdrawn in some sort of way. There is a need to withdraw to become very much cognizant of different ways of thinking, okay? This is also a way to avoid pain. But at the same time, it's very meditative in nature. There's something about a premeditation or a need to defend oneself, at least in an intellectual or communicative way, by closing off. This is not escapism. This has to do with um, perspectives primarily. You may see them as someone who's very impatient. Um, there's also the Three of Rods in the reverse. It's someone who is opposite, Saturnian in nature, or someone who is opposite to Jupiter. This could have to do with also passions, uh, passions or flares, flares of passions, fits of passions that they have. On a deeper level, yeah, there's Saturn. There's something about them. It's like it's opposite to what you're trying to do, and it's as if they have this great expectation, great expectation. They're hard workers. Whatever they do, there's something about a verve that is very compelling. Where they want to do something, there's a dynamic, the capability about them, and they do mean well. It's just the impulse and the way they go about doing things is very much cardinal in nature. Um, they're practical and they're also very cardinal. Um, yeah, I think you are trying to make the choice here, the right choice. The thing is that the difference is the difference between you and them is the difference of passion, of where to place it. I mean, because they have a lot of reactive energies to them. They with Cancer the Chariot, as well as the Three of Rods in reverse. There's a lot of reactive quality to them, meaning that there's a bit of a lack of patience. At the same time, there's a design in what they do. There's a purpose. This is a relationship that has a stigma of a karmic relationship. Okay, it doesn't have to be one, but there's something about it where they feel like they're owed something, or they feel like they're let down in terms of something. There's a lack of patience in it. At the same time, there's a mastery that they try to do. They want to produce this effect of the fourth house, okay, which is very strong, considering that this person can reflect something in terms of the spiritual insights that you are becoming attuned to, are in direct square or opposition to your own inner world, or the sort of sensitivities that people have when we're talking about um, trying to protect the inner world, trying to provide light for the inner world. There's a difficulty for both of you to meet eye to eye when it comes to that, considering that if this has the demeanor or the characterization of something karmic, it goes in direct opposition to some of the karmas that need to be addressed in terms of actions that are being taken, that are being sort of confronted in some. There's a confrontational design about them, but it is something that is within your avenue, something that you see as a meaningful connection. It's just that you've had to disintegrate from it somehow. Let's see here, South Node. Nine of, okay, so the way both of you are seeing each other right now is within the realm of protection. There's a need to protect good health and the ability to understand the natural order of things when it comes to the effective sort of qualities between you two, and it's important to worship um, any devotional aspects that Taurus would naturally have, okay, towards such a person or to others in general. With the South Node being activated here, it means that there are a lot of karmic energies that have to do with the past, okay, um, that according to astrology, in your seventh house, I mean, you have to deal with the past, and if it's something that you owe to someone, it's as if they want to give something to you, or they want to make things fertile between you two. Is It's just at the same time there is the need for you to find the right path. You're making the choice, and there also is, with the Two of Rods and the Four of Rods and the Six of Rods, there's something about the doubling up of efforts, trying to find the right gateway to walk through, trying to do the right thing. Um, so ultimately, the idea here is both of you are trying to do things in terms of good health, preserving a natural order of things, okay? With the South Node and the North Node being sort of strongly conjured up here, um, it's basically producing this strong axis, okay, between what you can hold, what you can commit to, what you can be devoted to, but then also transforming that in some sort of way, because that is ultimately the lesson that you have in terms of the placements of the North and the South Node, the dragon's head and the dragon's tail, or the body of the dragon. There's a strong chemical quality to this connection that talks about transformation through the sublimation of very basic energies that are rooted to the sacral chakra and the root chakra. Okay, so it's not that it's just merely low vibrational. It has to do with alchemy. It has to do with the transformation of such a relationship in order to provide a non-corrosive quality to it. Ten of Cups in reverse. It has to do with essentially coming up with this decision to move forward, for both of you to move forward, even if that's in different paths, in order to understand how to heal the situation. Okay, how to heal the situation. because we have here the Hierophant in reverse. Okay, and when the Hierophant is here in reverse, it means that um, the priest or the initiate, the the link between above and below, are negated by letting go of the vestments or the clothing, becoming naked, the Hierophant becoming naked. Okay, this has to do with a total bodhisattva sort of quality, where the Buddha is happy being naked because that is how God made him. Um, and that is what I'm seeing in terms of this. It has to do with Taurus, okay? The Hierophant, letting go of that which would protect him, letting go of the commitments and the responsibilities of that which would provide a sense of order or provide a sense of right doing in all of this, okay? Um, and that's the best I can do for you right now. We have here Pisces, the 12th house, being strongly indicative of a stellium in your 11th and 12th houses. This has to do with massive healing as well as the hanged man, being able to detox, uh, yeah, in order to preserve health within this connection. That's what I'm seeing. So that's the best advice I can give you in terms of all of this. I do wish you well. Um, yeah, thank you. Bye bye.